These red lights have been going on for about 10 minutes now. I don't think they're power flashes. I've been seeing what looks like car headlights going around this thing. They've just been making pass after pass in front of me. Over.
We have a tornado emergency for the Seymour area now. The National Weather Service in Norman handling warnings as it passes out of the San Angelo forecast area. They're saying that this is a life-threatening situation and you could be killed if not underground. Trained weather spotters continuing to report a violent wedge tornado on the ground moving along Route 277. We're getting damage reports from Monday and Goree. Monday is extremely lucky. The tornado passed just south of the most populated areas of town, but rural homes and buildings were faced with total destruction. 2 houses with nothing left but foundations and debris swept clean, large chunks of asphalt missing from roads, as well as grass, crops, and large swaths of dirt ripped from the ground. Goree, it looks like a worst-case scenario was avoided, but the damage reports are still shocking. Within a few blocks of the southern half of town, we're looking at structures that have little trace of ever-existing and granulated debris. One house is missing chunks out of its bolted concrete foundation. There is an instance of an exposed basement, still waiting for damage assessments out of Beau Martin, but I'm assuming it's a similar story. There was a report from a Knox County sheriff deputy about seeing what appeared to be car headlights or something producing light rotating around the funnel, which is one of the most frightening things I've ever heard. There have been confirmed fatalities, though we're still waiting for an exact number from Knox County Emergency Services. I am very concerned about this situation because of the lack of basements in this part of Texas. Not only that, but it has also engulfed Highway 277 southwest of Seymour and has been moving along it for a couple miles now, so I really hope as many motorists as possible were able to safely evade this tornado or find shelter.
Oh my goodness, folks. Please send a prayer for everyone affected and in the path. I hate to say it, folks, but this confirms we have a May 27th, 1997 type of violent tornado on the ground. It's going to be like Gerald, but bigger, yes. The tornado is larger size-wise. I can't stress this enough. To be quite honest, I've never seen anything like this. That report Jeff just brought us about houses swept clean and granulated debris really goes to show how violent this tornado is. As far as comparisons go, Gerald is the closest comparison based on what we've seen so far, but also May 3rd, 1999 in Moore, Oklahoma, which is something you never want to say or see happen again. Seymour, your time is almost up, and if you want to survive this thing, you need to be underground. This is at least an F4, at least 200-mile-per-hour winds in the funnel, but I suspect it is much, much higher than that just based on these velocity returns alone. Dear God, I've never seen a couplet this pronounced, extremely powerful inbound and outbound winds in this rotation here, including some extremely strong inflow winds and forward flank downdraft just ahead of the tornado. We're still seeing a pronounced debris ball here, which is debris being lofted so high our Doppler is picking it up and mistaking it for heavy rain and hail. That is indicative of a vicious tornado doing damage on the ground. Reminder, a tornado emergency is in effect for Baylor and extreme northwest Archer County until 8:15 p.m. In my years of live coverage, I have never felt such fear for the safety of a town and its residents. You could be killed if not underground. And even if you're in a basement, this tornado will pose a threat to your life. So take precautions by grabbing blankets, mattresses, pillows, anything you can to make yourself as shielded as possible from the outside world. A bike or sports helmet, if you have one, is ideal. Get under heavy furniture. Just take whatever actions you can to save your life. Remember, possessions are replaceable. Your life is not. I know I said earlier that if you don't have access to an underground shelter, you need to leave and head east or southeast, but that time has passed. It is not safe to leave by car anymore. You do not have enough time. If your neighbor has a basement, go there and they will let you in. And if you can't access an underground shelter anywhere, not a neighbor, business, cellar, you will need to hunker down in an interior room and pray. I don't mean to alarm anyone, but I'm trying to convey the severity of the situation in a way our viewers will understand. Though the situation in Baylor County is perilous, we need to briefly zoom out here and bring you news of other tornado warnings in our area. This one is for the counties of Haskell, northwest Throckmorton, and even southern Baylor counties until 8:30 p.m. tonight. So we could have 2 tornadoes ongoing in Baylor County at once, coming up in about 15 minutes. There was a confirmed tornado on the ground northeast of the Haskell area, but that rotation is not looking as impressive as it was earlier and has been downgraded to a radar-indicated threat. However, you still need to take your tornado precautions now. These two storms down here are getting into the Abilene coverage area, but they are worth mentioning. This storm here, just southeast of Avoca, tornado warned Anson, Albany, and again, southeast Haskell and southwest Throckmorton counties. Seek shelter now. This is another thing making today so dangerous. We've gotten multiple tornadoes in close proximity to each other, and that will continue after dark. This southern storm here, which produced a confirmed tornado over North Abilene that crossed I-20 earlier, remains tornado warned, but we have received indication that it has lifted. Despite that, remain in your tornado safe places because they can redevelop quickly on days like this. New scan on the Doppler. So let's pan up to our main threat here. Repeating, an extremely large tornado. This thing is at least a half, 3/4 of a mile wide, while being exceptionally violent, is on the ground ready to track into Seymour. It is rain wrapped, so you cannot see it, making this situation even worse. Take these last available seconds to get underground or to your shelter now because you are staring down the barrel as we speak. You will not see it coming. Repeating, it is rain wrapped, and if you see this tornado at all, it is too late. Get underground now. It will bear down on Seymour in a minute or two, and you need to be underground in an interior room to survive. I'm a 9-year veteran at this station, and this is the most dire situation I've ever witnessed. If you're in Seymour or anywhere in the path of these tornadoes, just know both I and the thousands of viewers watching in their homes are praying for you and wishing you the best. We'll keep you advised through this unprecedented night, and we'll get you through this the best we can here at News 6. This is truly the worst case scenario. Oh man, Seymour, this is right on top of you now. I really am praying with you here, praying it somehow missed town, but it didn't. We're looking live at an extremely violent tornado directly impacting a sizable community. I've never seen anything like this. Huge debris ball on radar. This thing is likely throwing houses, cars, everything tens of thousands of feet into the air. These poor people. It's right, you know, the whole town is in there. There's lives changing. There's people being injured or worse. I really hope everyone.
Where's Joey? He's at the store.
Everyone in Seymour and the surrounding areas is able to get to a substantial tornado shelter, hopefully underground. The Seymour Hospital. They're taking a direct hit. We were told they were in emergency lockdown and all the patients were in tornado shelters, but man, that's tragic. This is an absolutely awful situation, the worst case you could possibly imagine on a day like today. The school, too, I can't imagine. This tornado will continue on its current heading northeast along Highway 183 until it goes into Mabel, where 183 turns back into 277. Thankfully, the area to the northeast of Seymour isn't densely populated. It's a lot of ranch land, but there are still residents that need warning. Mabel, you need
comms are dead in some sectors.
Majority of the police fleet is inoperable at this time. We've injured officers and most police vehicles are destroyed. Currently unable to mount an effective search and recovery op. Over.
Similar story at the Sheriff's Department. No vehicles left in good condition. Over.
Roger, I'll contact every nearby dispatch to see what we can do. We need every second here. We'll pull back anyone tied up in Rochester. We need to help our own community at this time. I'll send a message to any operating units for a radio check. We need to see what resources we're working with here. Over.
Attention all sectors. We have a fire at the Seymour Hospital. Suspected gas leak. They are without power and unable to provide care beyond basic first aid at this time with extremely limited capacity. The compound is flattened and we have trapped patients. There is at least one casualty in the hospital and several others in critical condition. This emergency has priority across all sectors. I repeat, this emergency has priority across all sectors. Over.
Roger that. I was able to contact Knox City EMS. They will provide all reserve resources that are not applied in Rochester. I'll look to organize airlifts to nearby trauma centers and hospitals so we can get admitted patients and new injuries proper treatment. We're going to need field hospitals and a mobile morgue to treat all these people. Over.
Fire department is unable to send any engines at this time. We have one operable engine and we'll have to clear debris to get it moving. Over.
This is 1 Alpha 4. We're at Street.
2 fatalities, unable to ID the victims. House was stripped to the slab, no basement. We were able to pull a male victim out from under a tree and debris from across the street, unconscious but alive and in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. Requesting immediate EMS. Over. Christ. All emergency services under our jurisdiction, you are tasked to carry about search and recovery by any means necessary. Send units on foot if you have to. We are here to serve and protect, and we do not have time to sit here and wait for proper support. We likely have a mass casualty situation on our hands, and every second we don't act, it'll get worse. Do what you can. Over and out.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Texas Division of Emergency Management. Damage from a tornado earlier has left several communities in the counties of Knox and Baylor devastated, including the cities of Green, Palmerton, and Seymour, with areas being unrecognizably destroyed. Avoid travel in these areas, as damage to infrastructure and debris blocking roadways has rendered most routes impassable. In addition, hazards such as power lines and leaking gas will create a dangerous threat to life and safety. Roads should be kept clear for emergency services. If you are outside these communities and have a loved one or someone affected by the tornado, do not assist them at this time. If you are trapped or in need of assistance, do not move from your present location. Emergency responders are on scene and providing aid to the best of their ability. The Texas National Guard is also en route to assist those in need. Here is a list of roads closed to all except emergency responders and local traffic. These roads will be closed until further notice. U.S. Highway 82 eastbound past Red Spring. U.S. Highway 183 northbound into Seymour. In addition to these closures, State Highway 114 will have restricted access through a checkpoint set up at the U.S. Highway 283 interchange in southeast Seymour. Please avoid making phone calls, including dialing 911, as telephone lines must be kept open for emergency use only.
This morning, we have a somber story to bring you. Several communities in the quiet grasslands of West Texas are left devastated following a series of deadly tornadoes which struck last night. There have been at least 16 confirmed tornadoes across Texas and Oklahoma, and that number is expected to rise in the coming days as surveyors inspect the damage left in their wake. The worst damage is in the town of Seymour, with a population just under 3,000, where there is nothing left standing. It took a direct hit from a tornado, measured to have the strongest wind speeds ever recorded. Some of the scenes we are seeing are absolutely horrific and disturbing. The storm was so powerful it tore trenches in the ground, reduced solid brick buildings to a fine powder, and ripped plumbing out of homes. As a courtesy to our viewers, this next quote contains troubling descriptions which may upset some. Viewer discretion is advised. There are God knows how many people trapped under rubble, said the director of the Baylor County Emergency Management Agency. We've been pulling people out all night, and there's still so many more. Bodies are in the streets, left unrecognizable. I mean, I served in the Gulf War, and I've never seen anything so grim. It's like the town was dug up, and all evidence of it existing was shredded. Awful, awful situation. Texas Governor Rick Perry has declared a state of emergency in several counties in northwest Texas and has mobilized 2,000 National Guard troops to maintain order and help with the relief efforts. Local authorities are working with FEMA and other federal agencies to the best of their ability. In the midst of a tragedy, the community is coming together. Friends from around Texas and the nation are pouring in to help. You can help by donating to your local Red Cross or by following the instructions on our website, www.cnn.com. President Bush spoke on the matter earlier this morning, and we will bring you that message now.
When I woke up this morning, I heard the story of an incredible tragedy. My home state of Texas, where I lived and grew up, was ravaged by the indiscriminate fury of nature. During the afternoon and evening, a series of devastating tornadoes impacted our fellow good, undeserving Americans. They were gathered in their living rooms, eating dinner with their families, in their cars, while the kids played outside. But it didn't matter, as the skies turned dark and the thunder rolled in. What I have heard from emergency responders is abhorrent and unfortunately all too familiar. Towns full of normal people, just like you and I, have been completely destroyed. Families have been changed forever. Prized possessions have been lost in an instant. It is with a heavy heart that I bring you the news that there have been many casualties, neighbors, friends, and family lost in the wrath of the weather. My friends, I humbly ask you to keep the people of West Texas in your hearts tonight. I urge you to pray for the good citizens affected. From north to south, sea to shining sea, we are one nation, under God. This last year has been tumultuous, but we have proven we can and will come together as a nation in a time of crisis, and we will rebuild. With the proper care from the brave men and women assisting in recovery and the unbreakable bonds in the heartland of America, the towns affected will bounce back stronger than ever. My dear Americans, I thank you for your time. God and Americans everywhere will be with the people of Texas through these hard times. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
The president is expected to travel to Texas later today.
My name is Dr. Nora Dahlgren, PhD. I'm a meteorology professor at the University of Texas, Austin, and a National Weather Service damage surveyor for the San Antonio Austin Weather Forecast Office. I am part of a team of some of the top researchers in my field assigned to investigate strange phenomena observed in a recent major tornado event. On May 20th, 2002, a significant tornado outbreak unfolded across West Texas and southwest Oklahoma. The most notable tornado of this event was the Monday Seymour F5, which caused some of the most violent tornado damage ever observed. The Dow 2 mobile Doppler radar measured a 3-second sustained wind speed of 319 miles per hour, with a margin of error of 20 miles per hour, just northeast of Beaumartin, Texas, shattering the previous record set just 2 years earlier of the strongest wind speed ever observed on Earth. The tornado was on the ground for an hour and 27 minutes, tracking roughly 55 miles at a forward speed of 35 miles per hour. The parent supercell lasted for several hours and produced 8 significant tornadoes of F2 strength or higher and several other weaker, shorter-lived tornadoes, including an F2 over Wichita Falls later in the night, which was the last tornado before the storm dissipated while crossing into Oklahoma. The Seymour tornado reached a peak width of 1.7 miles wide and exhibited violent multiple vortex characteristics for most of its life. The structure of the tornado was intriguing, with a primary vortex starting as a large stovepipe but quickly becoming a mile-wide wedge, featuring a wind field which was considerably larger than this main funnel, where subvortices danced around the outer edge of the monster like a carousel. These subvortices were extremely powerful, likely as powerful as winds in the core, with deep scouring observed in classic cycloidal marks. In addition, multiple smaller and short-lived satellite tornadoes were produced throughout its lifetime, which goes to show how truly violent and energetic the mesocyclone of this supercell was. At one point, there were 3 tornadoes on the ground at the same time, which included the main tornado, a satellite, and an anticyclonic circulation. A strong EML finally gave way in the late afternoon, and like a convective bomb, supercells erupted off the dry line. A powerful surface low sat over the Texas Panhandle, and coupled with an intense low-level jet, advected an abundance of warm, unstable air northward into the open warm sector. A mature, negatively tilted trough ejected across the southern plains, adding even more intense directional and speed shear. This was a classic planes-loaded gun setup, and it did not disappoint. We will analyze the entire setup in more detail in a later tape. Now that we've gone over a brief synoptic summary of the event, I'll delve into more detail about what we're here for. A strange phenomenon was observed in the tornado by numerous sources in multiple locations. Red lightning. Onlookers from civilians to trained weather spotters reported frequent red bolts of lightning emanating from the tornado for a decently large chunk of its life. Though there are numerous reports, only one piece of visual evidence has been disclosed to myself and my colleagues. Police dash cam. It shows exactly what is described. Red bolts of lightning from inside and around the tornado. We will go over the explanation in a second, but here's an interview conducted by Dr. Lloyd Shervin of Northeastern State University at Muskogee. I've cut any information in the interview that's irrelevant to this tape for time purposes.
All right, if there are no other concerns, we can continue the interview. What is your name, sir?
Jeff Greer.
And where were you during the tornado?
I was in my house in Seymour when the tornado hit. It hit me dead on, and I didn't have a basement. I was thrown and broke both my legs. I was dragged along the ground and was wedged under a snapped tree. My clothes were torn off, and I was covered in mud. I don't know how I survived. I think I would have been killed if that tree didn't stop me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got really lucky.
So, you claim to have seen the red lightning within the Seymour tornado. Can you explain what you saw?
Well, I never really saw it coming. I knew there were going to be storms, but I didn't know it was going to be as bad as it was. My wife and son were in Wichita Falls visiting family at the time this all happened. And it's a miracle they were when this happened. I turned on the news when I heard the sirens for the first time, and a little after that it started hailing. Big time. I think they said it was over baseball-sized in Seymour, and I believe it. There was so much it looked like it snowed. It kept raining too, and the thunder and lightning, the thunder was so loud and it was constant. The sky was white. There were no breaks in either. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't have a basement, and the guy on the news told me my only option was to leave by car. But that's kind of hard when your entire windshield is smashed by massive hail. I never saw the tornado. I remember looking out to where it was coming from and seeing nothing, just rain and mist. That's when the red lightning started. It was dim at first, but it got brighter and brighter every minute. It too was constant, but it stood out from the white lightning. It was like a light show in the sky, like fireworks show or a club with all the strobe lights. These deep red bolts just shot across the sky and turned everything blood red. I remember it got windy all of a sudden, really windy. There was dust flying everywhere. It was caked against the window I was looking out. There were tree branches everywhere, but this wasn't even the tornado yet, however. I didn't know that at the time, and I'm glad I took shelter when I did. This is when the power went out. I don't have a basement, and nobody around me did either, so I barricaded myself in the bathroom and covered myself with a table and mattress. I was scared, man. The way the meteorologist talked about it freaked me out. He was saying some scary stuff about what they were expecting. I've been through my fair share of tornado warnings, sure, who around here hasn't? But this was different, I could tell. I could hear the fear in his voice. I was in my bathtub praying for my life, and this ominous and foreboding rumble began to overtake every other sound. The ground shook. It felt like an earthquake. It was the loudest sound I ever heard. Wood creaked, wind howled deafeningly, and I heard this deafening chainsaw-like sound. That's the best way to describe it. I've heard tornadoes are like freight trains, but this was different. I can't even begin to describe what I heard. Just thinking about it now gives me anxiety. The last thing I remember before blacking out was a window breaking. I was found unconscious, pinned under a snapped tree, naked and covered in mud. The tornado ripped my clothes off as it pulled me from my house. My left leg was shattered by debris, and my right shin was irreparably destroyed. Something hit it and blew the bone to bits. They had to amputate my right leg below the knee. Nothing was left of my entire neighborhood. My house had 0 walls standing, and the slab it's built on had chunks ripped out. Because of head trauma, I don't remember anything from the tornado to 4 days after, but apparently I was awake and conscious, just nonverbal and in critical condition. I'm so thankful for the doctors who saved my life. Nothing has been the same since that day. I'm sorry. You didn't need to know my life story. You just wanted to know about the lights.
That's an incredible story. Very moving, Mr. Greer. Your perseverance is inspiring. I'm glad you told me in such detail. Your story provides crucial information to us reporting on this event.
No problem, sir. I'm sorry I can't elaborate much more on how the lights looked. They were just cracks of red lightning that turned the sky red, and they came from the direction of the tornado. I don't know how to describe it much better.
No worries. That is incredibly valuable information. The tornado was wrapped in rain, so it was hard for anyone to see. Most of the reports are like yours, red lights coming from a wall of blackness. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? We've gotten the information we needed, but if there are any other concerns, feel free to share.
No thanks, that's it.
My colleagues and I have related this event to similar instances of electrical activity within a tornado, such as the glowing white and blue light reported with the May 25, 1955 Blackwell-Udall tornado, where a solid light was reported above the ground from within the tornado, the similar red lights from the April 3, 1974 Huntsville, Alabama tornado, and reported electrical activity from a tornado during the April 11, 1965 Palm Sunday outbreak. Strange electrical activity is rare within tornadoes and is mostly reported in nocturnal storms due to the lack of daylight, but it has been documented on multiple occasions. Under our current understanding, these are anomalies, not the norm. While the cause of the lightning is presently unknown, there are 2 prevailing theories listed below. Number 1, within the most powerful, violent, and wide tornadoes, the motion of particles, pressure differences, moisture, and potentially flying debris, should there be enough, can create static electrical charges like those seen in traditional thunderstorms. The negative charges from within the tornado can tap into the positively charged ground, creating lightning. As I mentioned earlier, there were high levels of streamwise vorticity present in this tornado, so that could have played a key role in developing the lightning. The red color of the Seymour lightning is still not fully understood, but it is believed to be caused by the lightning not being as hot, as red light is the coolest visible light on the electromagnetic spectrum. While the temperature of traditional white lightning is around 53,000 degrees Fahrenheit, this so-called tornadic lightning is theorized to be within the 5,000 to 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit range, since it doesn't have as much energy as lightning coming from cumulonimbus clouds. Number 2, this explanation isn't too far off from a phenomenon known as transient luminous events, or TLEs, where red lightning has been observed. They are related to lightning and are defined by electric discharges going up into the atmosphere rather than toward the ground. They are classified by duration, altitude, color, shape, and characteristics. For example, different types of TLEs include lightning sprites, blue jets, elves, and giant sprites. There is one glaring hole in this theory, though. Lightning sprites shoot up instead of down because it is positively charged further up above the clouds. For that to be the explanation, TLEs are operating in more ways than we thought to be possible and can exist on the ground under certain very specific conditions. Ground level TLEs seem unlikely given our current understanding. However, it is still a meteorological phenomenon we know little about, and nothing plausible can be left off the table. Of course, the red lightning can also be neither of those things. Perhaps it is produced by something we have never studied before, and we are about to make a scientific breakthrough. I cannot wait to study this event in depth once we've gathered more data. In conclusion, the red lights associated with the Seymour tornado are believed to be caused by either a massive buildup of static electricity due to the strength and size of the tornado, or some sort of ground-level transient luminous event or a similar phenomenon, or something we just haven't studied yet. More research will have to be conducted into this meteorological marvel. That concludes the first tape. Thank you for listening.
you